Planescape Torment, the Unofficial audio series. A narrative let's play adapted and produced by RevocerGM. Combining in-game audio with additional voice acting through dialogue and descriptions to improve your listening experience. Rediscover the amazing story of the 1999 cult classic isometric video game, Planescape Torment, like you've never heard before. You feel something. Light above your eyelids. Pain. A taste of copper. The smell of mold. Your eyes blink open.
You know, I was just sitting there wondering if you were going to get up. And then you have to go and spoil my fun. Welcome back, Chief. I hope you have all your memories this time.
Feels like I've been strained through someone's bowels. You take in your surroundings. You are lying on a thin cot. A poultice is bound and drying around your waist. You seem to be in a small, humble dwelling. A number of herbs are hanging up to dry above a stove made out of some sort of petrified wood. Motes of dust and pollen linger in the space around you. The smell of bruised mint and the patter of stone draws your attention to a hunched figure, working away at a pestle and mortar. This squat old woman looks like she has had all the color bled out of her. Everything from her hair to a shawl to a robe, all are shades of grey. The only splotches of color come from the herbs tied to her belt by their stalks that swoosh when she moves. Greetings. The elderly woman turns and stares at you. And you notice the grey shades blanketing her body extend to her features as well. Her hair is a wispy grey, and her eyes are like chips of granite. She frowns when she sees you.
Awake so soon?
You don't know how to respond.
Won't you introduce yourself?
The name's Adan. It's all that comes to mind right now. Who are you? With a sly cackle, she wags her eyebrows.
Have you not heard of old Mebeth then? The midwife of the square? Have ye not now?
She narrows her eyes.
Well, now you have. For I be Mebeth.
You're a midwife?
Aye. I also set bones right. Drive the cough out of the sick, yank out squealing stubborn babes, mend cloaks or a rag or two, make cures and herbs and other such.
She squints at you, studying your scars.
Now, ye be known about me. What have you? What got ye into such a mess?
I was searching for someone. Farad.
Farad?
You watch as Mebeth spits once, twice, 3 times, then follows it by making a semicircle over her heart.
Oh, that ghoul turd! What should be wanting with the likes of him?
I need to find him. Do you know where he is?
He's not in Ragpicker Square, that much I can tell you. You need to find a way under the square to get to that turd spider's kip.
She spits again.
Even talking about him leaves a foul taste, it does. Ugh.
He's under the square. She jabs a finger at the floor.
Aye. He's buried beneath these piles of trash, him and his boys. And a tough time you'd have digging him out of his nest.
She shakes her head.
Let be, child.
Mebeth begins cutting and gently removing the dirty bandages from your waist. Maybe I should. You wince as you remember the knife piercing your stomach. He may have something of mine. I'm missing a journal. Do you have any idea where I might find it? Mebeth thinks.
Oh, I haven't seen one. If it's in the square, which I doubt, since folks don't traffic much with books and the like, it's most likely been sold or stolen. Was it something important to you then? A magic thingy all glowing and sparkling with magic, say? If so, you might never see it again.
I'm beginning to think I'll never see it again also. Mebeth removes the last wad of blood-crusted cloth, revealing a patch of clear skin. No damage, no scab, not even a scar this time.
There. Now, I'm sure you have better things to be doing than rattling your bone box with old Mebbeth.
What time is it? How long was I out?
A few hours past Antipeak by my reckoning. You didn't leave us too long. Slept like the dead for what little time it was, though. No dreams stirring yet.
I didn't have any dreams at all.
Nothing odd about that. Most dreams are shy. They fly away when the sleeper's lid's open.
No, but it doesn't feel like I forget them. I don't think I dreamed anything. It feels wrong.
Dreams can make one great, but they have laid low just as many. Mayhap you're better off without them nettling you.
Mayhap. But I don't think so. Mebbeth snorts.
Well, dreams or no, I'm not one to change the nature of a man. Good that your friend here dragged you to me.
Looks like you could still use a bit of rest, Chief. Let's head to the flop house. Come on, it's not far from here.
Very well. Farewell, Mebbeth. Thank you. A small pang of loss hits you at the thought of leaving this hut. For the first time since waking up in the mortuary, even if so briefly, you feel comforted, cared for. You head back towards the hive in relative silence. A dim glow radiates from a few dirty trash fires, surrounded by huddled vagrants. They take no notice as you skulk amongst the debris. You quickly find yourself back amongst the cramped streets of the hive. The meager light reflects off the windows of wealthier houses. Most of the streets, however, are a gloomy purplish shade. As you walk the alleys, several rag-clothed boys, barely a score of years between them, approach you, bearing glowing colored lanterns atop pole staffs. The tallest of the bunch, his face scuffed and bruised, steps up front.
Oi, governors, you heading out or heading home?
Before you can answer, he cuts in.
Oh, you look a wreck, Buck. Call keeping the flop house if he needs to rest. We'll get you there right safe. For a price, of course.
You look to Morte for approval.
Yeah, just keep those baubles out of my face, you hear me? I'm going blind up here.
How much to the flop house?
Copper for each of us makes 3 plus 1 for each of yous for the trouble.
You hand the kid 5 commons.
All right, off we go.
They lead you a few yards around the corner and down a short alleyway that quickly opens out onto a square. In the center, a long, narrow building with a sign outside, the wooden cutout of a single bed.
Here you go. Pleasure doing business, cutters.
Immediately, they scatter, giggling into the maze of streets.
You cunning little scamps.
You stand in silence, gazing up at the ring of the city above you. The sky is cleared somewhat, and you can see faint twinkling lights from faraway districts. Thank you, Morte. I don't know what I would have done without you.
Huh? Oh, you serious? Don't mention it, Chief. I gotta get rest. My eyeballs are drying out.
By the entrance to the flop house, a man is urinating against the trellis of razor vine that surrounds the threshold. As you approach, he turns to you and tries to focus his eyes in the dull lamplight. He sways unsteadily back and forth, catches his balance for a moment, then manages a sickly, twisted smile at something just past your right ear. Good evening.
Oh.
He nods slowly, and with a phlegm-filled gurgle, a small green-colored trail of drool begins to drip from the side of his mouth, running into his scruffy beard. He looks like he's barely able to stand up, much less carry a conversation. Inside the flop house, it's a chaotic jumble of bunks, benches, and bottle-strewn booths, where patrons stave off sleep and mutter their mumbled chatter. The smell is a mix of dried sweat, stale beer, and musty sheets. However, despite this, there is a friendliness that seems rare and precious in this part of the city. A short, balding man is sat at a simple trestle table for what serves as the foyer desk to this humble dorm. His bushy brows are furrowed in concentration as he picks at what appear to be scabs on his large, bulbous nose. Greetings. The man doesn't bother to look up.
Oh, yeah? What do you want?
I have some questions.
Oh, well, ain't that nice?
He flashes you a sarcastic, yellow-toothed smile.
And I'm sure you'll find your answers someday. But I've got me a business to run, so if you don't want a bed, then I suggest you pike off.
Do you have a bed?
Yeah, sure I do, Burke. If you got the jink for it. Nobody puts up here for free except old Nestor over there, and that's only because no one's adult-coded enough to mess with him.
Who's Nestor?
Well, Nestor's the balmy old sod in the common area.
He hikes his thumb over his shoulder toward the back of the room at a cluster of small tables.
Yeah, watch your step around him, Burke. He's not right in the head. Always rattling his bone box about his fork and all. I wish someone would do us all a favour and get rid of him.
Why don't you get rid of him yourself?
You don't think I've tried? I have, and look at what I get from my effort.
He leans his face forward and points at the bleeding scabs on his nose.
The balmy suddenly bit me nose off.
I could get rid of him for you.
I'll tell you what, Carter. If you can get rid of him for me, you can stay here for free as often as you like. Deal?
Fair enough. I'll do it.
Well, don't just stand around gawking, gets to it.
He immediately returns to his scab picking.
Can't you see him a busy man?
You leave the man to his hygiene and head to the common area where a few patrons are engaged in a drunken conversation most suited to the small hours of the day.
This is strange how them horse folk sleep standing up, eh?
Yeah, it ain't right.
Must be right handy, having 4 legs.
No, I do just fine with 3.
One of the drunkards notices as you approach, and a gulping look of astonishment washes over his face.
Clem!
You what?
Clem, it's you!
He slaps his hand to his brow. His look of deep confusion quickly turns to concern, and then embarrassment.
I thought I'd never see you again. It's been... 4 years? You look... well, no matter. That copper I owed you is here. I promise.
He stands to fumble drunkenly inside his belt pouch, his face a ruddy crimson. At last, he plucks out a small pouch of coins, and with an apologetic smile stuffs a handful into his pocket and slides the remaining across the table towards you, crumpled felt bag and all.
I'm a little shy today, you understand? I would have returned it to you sooner, but it was as if you'd disappeared off the face of Sigil. I should be heading away now. Clem. Fare you well.
He steadies himself, takes up his sword and hat, tips you an awkward salute, and stumbles straight out into the Sigil night. His companion, utterly confused, sits there open-mouthed before grabbing his tankard and loping off to a nearby bunk. Frantically pacing in the corner, you see an aging man in soiled and tattered clothes. His shock of filthy white hair sticks out in all directions, and his face, encrusted with dirt and streaks of dried blood, is covered with grey stubble. Every few seconds he stops pacing and flails about suddenly, muttering and cursing as if assaulted by some unseen foe. He does not seem to have noticed you. Are you Nestor? At the sound of your voice, he whirls about to face you, his wide, staring eyes bulging in their sockets. He regards you for a brief moment, then returns to his raving.
No, it's not you. But soon, yes, soon.
Who are you talking to? The old man seems oblivious to your presence.
You'll come. Yes, you'll come. And old Nestor'll be waiting.
Waiting? Who are you waiting for?
Waiting, yes.
He plops down to the floor, as if overcome by exhaustion.
Long have I waited, waiting.
He takes a deep breath and springs back to his feet.
Wait forever if I have to. Do you hear me?
Are you all right?
No!
Nestor's face turns beet red, and his whole body shakes in protest.
My fork. Can't leave without my fork. Ooh. Fork.
Your fork?
Fork. Can't go home without my fork.
Nestor's frenzy reaches a violent crescendo. He begins hopping up and down maniacally, then suddenly stops, lowers his head, and runs headlong into a large wooden cupboard that stands against the back wall of the flophouse. The force of the impact knocks the old man flat on his back. After a few seconds, he stands back up, a dazed expression on his face.
Gone. Stolen. Can't go home without my fork.
Stolen, you say? Who took your fork? Nesta stares at you for a long moment, then begins rummaging through his pockets of his filthy tunic and produces what appears to be a dismembered ear. Judging by the stench and color of the ear, you'd wager that the old man has been toting it around in his pocket for some time.
You have my fork, don't you? Don't you? Ooh, ooh.
He holds the ear close to his mouth.
Bring back my fork. Waiting. Ooh, ooh.
He shakes the ear violently as he shouts into it.
Until you bring it back, then I can go home.
You back off cautiously, having no idea how to help this man right now, and approach the proprietor. I've got better things to do than hunt down silverware for a madman. How much for a bed?
Yeah, it'll cost you 5 coppers.
He wipes his dirty hand on the front of his even dirtier shirt and thrusts it towards you, palm up.
Yeah. There's an empty bunk behind that screen. You're with the goat man. Damn to better if they're gonna use it.
You trudge to the relative privacy of the screened-out dorm and see the tall figure of a 4-legged creature stood before you. The lower portion of its body resembles that of a goat. However, just above its powerful forelegs, its shape takes on a more human appearance, with a man's torso, arms, and head, all of which are covered in colorfully dyed fur. The creature snorts angrily, but its eyes remain shut. Apparently, it's not a light sleeper. You leave him be and slump onto the empty bunk, exhausted. Day 2. Hour unknown. After being attacked by an unknown gang of thugs, Morte dragged me, near dead, to the midwife's hut, where she tended to me. Her name is Mebeth. She seems to have some skill in the arts of healing. She did not, however, approve of my search for Farad. His ill repute, as Dow put it, certainly precedes him. Both the dustman Emmerich and Sharegrave, the leader of a gang of collectors, have tasked me in finding out where he's getting his near-endless supply of dead bodies. I may be closer to finding him, but I'm attracting attention being so clueless in this city. There's a light bustle of late morning life in the flophouse. Stood in the same spot as before, awake this time, is the large 4-legged goat man readying himself for the day. Much as this creature's body is a combination of man and ram, his head is a mix of sorts, with a broad flat nose, goat ears, and a pair of curling horns. Intricate designs are shaved into his colorfully dyed pelt, and a beautiful 4-flanged polearm leans at his side. He doesn't seem to notice you as he carefully oils an ornate golden shield.
Morning.
He turns to face you with startling speed, his eyes dark and wary.
What do you want, Two Legs?
His hand is close to his polearm.
I don't recall ever having met anyone of your kind. If you permit me, I would ask some questions of you.
He seems to calm down. His hand drops away from his weapon. He still keeps a certain distance from you, however.
What do you wish to ask me?
Why are you so wary of me? He seems sad for a moment.
This place, a wretched, unclean place, is full of unfriendly, sometimes desperate people. Not the best place for a visiting warrior, Two Legs.
He shrugs.
I have business here, though, and so here I am.
Visiting? You do not live here. The Boreal shakes his head, laughing.
No, Two Legs. No warrior could live like this.
Where are you from?
From the plains of Isgard, Two Legs. They are my home.
He smiles in fond recollection, warmed by the memory. You start to feel a cramping in your stomach, and a headache is boring its way through the front of your skull. You haven't eaten or drunk anything since waking up in the mortuary. You're not sure yet if you even need to eat or drink, but the pain lingers still.
Is there anything to drink here? Don't drink any of the poison Aloe here serves you.
trust me.
He tosses you his wineskin. You take a deep pull on the spout. The taste is sweet and clean.
Keep it. You look like you've wrestled with a Jotunbrod.
Thank you. What sort of business were you here for?
Another time, Two Legs. If we ever meet in a happier place, I shall tell you all about it.
Until then, farewell.
Just one thing.
He leans to you and stares into your eyes with intensity.
You snore like an oliphant and drool like the foop-up in your sleep. Farewell, Two Legs.
He claps a large hand onto your shoulder and gathers his shield before striding out of the flophouse. After a moment, you follow, passing the slumlord Arlo leaning back in his chair, a damp, twisted rag covering his eyes. He doesn't pay you any attention. Outside, the air is chill, but the haze has thinned, and you can practically see the whole arc of Sigil shearing through the sky above. The square is busy and bustling with a frantic energy. A band of guards with hooked staves and spiked reddish armor march purposefully towards one of the many crumbling buildings. Its door, that is barely hanging onto its hinges, splinters under the heavy knocking, and they force themselves inside to a chorus of screams and shouts. At the corner of the street sits a man in a loose-fitting tunic. He hardly moves a muscle as weary workers jostle and barge past him. Every inch of his skin is covered in a web of black lines. It's as if some artist chose to accentuate every crease in his flesh with a quill pen. The overall effect is such that even when his face shows no expression, he appears to be frowning.
Greetings.
This one has a name. This one is called Porphyron.
As he speaks, the lines on his face bend and settle into a series of spherical patterns.
This one would know. Why do you address this one?
I just wanted to ask you some questions about the city.
This one would have you know. This one cannot answer your questions.
The lines on his face twist into angles, then split into a mess of scribbles.
This one has only recently stepped foot in this place of walls.
All right, then. I have to ask, why do those lines upon your face move?
The lines show anger. Do you take offense?
The lines slowly straighten, forming into gentle curves.
No offense was meant. Will you accept the many apologies of this one?
No offense taken. Why are you angry?
This one tells of event recent. Did you know this one was beset by three? The three demanded an item of this one. This one feared an attack. What does this one do? This one surrendered the item.
Well, you were right to be afraid. If there were three, then they might have killed you had you not given up the item.
This one has been misunderstood.
The lines on his face become angled, then smooth again into curves.
This one did not fear being killed. This one feared killing the three.
Well, if you could have killed them, why did you let them rob you?
This one walks the path of a warrior. Many weapons have walked with this one. The fist, the blade, the stave, the hatchet, the smiter. These tools are all known to this one.
That's not much of an explanation. Again, if you're a warrior with that much training, why let them rob you?
This one is forbidden to attack.
The lines ripple across his face as he speaks.
If this one had struck at the three in anger, the vow of non-violence would be unmade.
Vow of non-violence? You're a warrior and a pacifist.
This one is unfamiliar with your speech. What is this pacifist?
Never mind. Why did you train so much if you're not permitted to attack another?
This one is of the Order of Eritage. We await the final days where we will all be called to battle. The training and skills of this one, they are to be kept silent until then.
In the meantime, what? You will let yourself be robbed in the street without defending yourself?
This one will clarify. The item is of value. The discipline of the Eritage is of greater value.
Since you won't fight, any chance you could talk these thieves into returning your item?
This one addresses the three thieves. What happens? The requests of this one are met with scorn. The three will not return the item.
I could go see if I could get the item back for you.
This one must ask. Would you bring violence to the three that have robbed this one?
Well, if they aren't smart enough to hand it over when I ask, things could get ugly.
The lines on the man's face form into a series of overlapping ellipses.
If that is the message they understand, then that is how the message may be conveyed.
All right then. What is this item you've lost?
The item is this: a rope of black and red prayer beads worn around the neck. The worth of these beads is not measured in copper. The worth of these beads is measured in faith.
Do you know where these three thugs might be?
This one knows where the angry words were traded and the item lost. By the bar that burns inside. The three were outside the place, dressed in black and red.
Three robbers dressed in red and black outside a bar that burns on the inside. That can't be too hard to find.
This one thanks you, stranger.
Farewell.
You are becoming more familiar with the layout of the hive and head southward, or downward as the cages call it, and find yourself at a crossing of two broad streets. At the nexus of these streets, standing out like a sore thumb in his fine clothing, is a plump man looking around at the buildings with some confusion. He looks lost and is mumbling to himself.
Greetings. Are you all right?
The man looks relieved as he sees you.
Oh, at last! I beg your indulgence, good sir. I seem to have gotten turned around in this maze of streets. I'm afraid this area of the city is somewhat unknown to me. The residents seem most unwilling to extend aid to a visitor.
He looks at you, eyes wide with hope.
Could I prevail upon you to help me, perchance?
At least as far as I can. Where are you trying to go?
I seek the house of my Aunt Marguerite. She is reported to dwell in the house close to the mortuary, but the street seems to have changed since my last visit. Do you know of the house of which I speak?
I'm afraid that I have never heard of such a place.
Well, I suppose it would have been too much good fortune. Well, I thank you for your time, good sir. It is most welcome on these streets.
Farewell.
As you turn to leave, you instinctively check your purse and notice the man removing his hand from it. He doesn't seem to know you saw him, however.
Perhaps, sir, you could seek the services of a tout.
You engage the man in light conversation and secretly study his movements. You notice, where his clothes first appeared fine and opulent, they are frayed and worn, and don't seem to fit him all that well.
Yes. Tales of them being throat-slitters and cut purses has left me wary, I suppose. Is there one nearby?
I'm sure you'll find one in the square. Spire would have here.
This man seems to rely on two things. One, pretending to be a well-to-do citizen out of his element to lower the target's guard, and two, distracting the mark by having the victim point out directions. When the victim turns to a point at a street or landmark, the man skims the mark's purse and tucks the items into his conveniently long sleeves. You make a mental note of his technique, just as he makes another grab for your purse, and you grab his hand. The man gives a yelp and desperately tries to yank it free.
Stop struggling, or I'll keep your hand.
He seems to wilt beneath your gaze.
Return what you stole from me. Now.
He nods and begins to empty his pockets. He gives you a handful of coins, far more than he stole from you. The total must come to a few dozen copper commons.
No, you keep the rest. I only want what you stole from me.
He looks at you in surprise, as if you were tricking him, then shrugs and puts the excess back into his pockets.
We're even. Now, I never want to see you again. Understand?
He nods. You let him go, and he runs backwards directly into a patch of razor vine growing deep into the bricks of the building behind him. Awkwardly, his sleeves keep catching on the barbs. You almost feel ashamed to look at his desperation. Finally, with bleeding fingers, he untangles himself and flees. You walk for a few more minutes, distracted and feeling slightly foolish. You start to think you've lost your way again. However, the clearer weather affords you a strange perspective on the curve of the city, useful for navigating the winding streets, and you begin to see the upper crest of the mortuary fall into view, its black-spined crown an ugly marker of your rough location. Along a wide carriageway, you pass another of the jagged, nameless monuments, and hear someone mutter.
No, there's Teresa walking ones, it looks like.
You turn and see a striking young red-haired woman dressed in elaborate leather armor. Her right arm is covered with a series of interlocking plates that look as if they were taken from the skin of some creature, and a horned shoulder piece protects her left arm. Oddly enough, she has a tail that is flicking back and forth as you watch.
Excuse me?
Pike off!
Who are you?
The woman sneers, then makes an obscene gesture with a tail.
Pike off, you clueless sod!
Hey, easy. I
Aye? And what is your want?
I can't help but notice you have a tail.
Do I now?
She looks at her tail.
So I do? And here I was thinking it was the trick of me eye. My, aren't you a sharp cutter?
She bares her teeth.
When you piss off to whatever hole you crawled out of and leave me be? Me, nor my tail is for trade, Jake.
All right, I was just...
It's just as well neither you nor your tail are for sale. You couldn't squeak out a living with them anyway. What are you about, you blighter? Say it again.
He didn't say anything. But I'm still curious. Why do you have a tail?
The woman's eyes narrow to slits.
Are you daft? Can it be that you're dumber than stone? Or mayhap you're the power of ignorance? May the dabbers brick you over and make you street.
Look,
She's a tiefling, Chief. They got some demon's blood in them, and that makes them paranoid and defensive. Nice tail, though. Shame it's plastered on such an ugly body.
Whoa, now.
You better latch your bone box, you foul mouthed me, for I splits it from your jaw, Jig. Why don't you try and split my jaw, chit? All I'm hearing is a lot of chatter from some hive trash. Throw a punch, I dare you, I'll bite your legs out.
Enough.
Aye, that's right. Leash your Mima, Tad, or I'll bury him with his body, Jig.
Memer? What are you talking about?
Aye, Mima. What, the gulp between your ears so wide me words echo? Eat you.
You still haven't answered my question. What's a memer?
Mima's a talking encyclopedia. That's me, Chief.
Got it.
She glances at Mort, then you, and sneers.
I guess I know which one of you has the brains, eh?
Yeah. Look, I had some other questions.
Aye? And what is it you want?
Nothing. Just farewell.
Aye, pike off to wherever you came from then.
You storm off, flustered and frustrated. In mere moments, this tiefling has gotten under your skin more than any pickpocket, thug, or trash-picking scum has managed so far. You boil inside as you march along the street.
Hey, are you alright?
No, I'm fine. Memer.
Your skin prickles. You are itching for a fight.
Let's just find this bar that burns inside and get this man's beads back.
I'm guessing he meant the
Smoldering corpse bar, I got it. That corpse, the cadaverous signpost pointed this way, come on.
You know, you're running the show here, but it couldn't hurt to be nice once in a while.
You continue down the carriageway and come to another gate. 2 great stone pillars spiral and twist into clasping hands. They have a majesty that is discordant with the dark lead-roofed building squatting in the center of the square beyond. From underneath the pillars, staring at you, is a slight man toying with a curved sickle-like blade. His arms are covered with interwoven chains, and his long ears are tipped with dark, downy fur. As you approach, he takes a step back. His eyes have an anxious, predatory light, like a scavenger. Just looking at him, you realize he's sizing you up to see if he can best you. But his voice quavers with uncertainty.
Leave me be. I'd done nothing to you.
Don't even think about attacking me, or my blade will have a new home.
He looks at you sullenly.
Are you looking for a fight?
I'm not looking for a fight.
Spittle flies from his mouth as he speaks.
But you're the one who should watch yourself. If you think you can take me, you should.
No one speaks to me that way, and no one threatens me. Take back what you have said, or you'll be too dead to have a second chance. You understand me?
I swallow my words then. I meant no offense.
Good. Keep your distance, or I'll gut you.
You and I shall not cross paths then. No offense was meant by sharing the street with you.
All right then. Get out of my sight. Now.
Whoa, calm down, Chief, will you? Come on, we don't need this kind of trouble.
You ignore Mort, leaving him to console the thug, and head deeper into the square. This whole place feels dark and shadowy. Heavy smoke wafts from the grates and chimneys, forming a smothering blanket, accented by a deep, permeating red. Packs of drunks leer at prostitutes, posing beneath their lanterned trees, their murderous pimps eyeing them like hounds in the pits. Everything's coated in a fine grey ash and a layer of grime that seems ingrained in this part of the hive. Suddenly, a woman stumbles into you, then stumbles back and flashes you a lopsided smile. She smells like a distillery.
Hello?
She waves at you, then breaks into a stream of giggles.
Hello, big cutter. Name's Rhonda. Nice to meet ya.
She starts laughing again. Are you okay? She squints at you, puts her hands on her hips, and bends over enough to give you a bird's eye view of her bosom.
Don't I look okay to you, cutter? Well?
She shakes herself, causing numerous jiggles, and starts laughing again.
You're the one who looks to be needing some love and care.
She pokes you in the chest with a finger for emphasis. You offering? She gives you a mock, stern gaze.
I might be, if you be making the right offer.
She presses up against you.
What'll it be?
No thanks. But maybe you could help me, though.
Aren't you a demanding cutter?
Can you just tell me where I can find
No.
She seems quite amused by the word and taps you on the chest to emphasize it.
No.
Never mind then.
You notice her removing her hand from your belt pouch. She doesn't seem to know you saw her, however.
The second damn time today.
What did you say?
You look around. Morte is distracted by a drunken couple who seem fascinated by his garish charm. You lean in close to the woman in front of you.
You know, maybe I was too quick to turn away your kind offer just then.
Oh, so you think I can help ya? Well, sweep me off my feet with such flattery. All right then.
She checks you up and down and seems to sober up a little.
Nay. I think you'd be more than I can handle, you would.
Nonsense. I'm sure there's nothing you couldn't handle. She smiles and laughs coyly. Laughing along with her, you maneuver her out of sight from the crowd and watch as her hand darts to your purse again. Her trick seems to be distracting the mark with her sensuality and drunken chatter while she lifts the coins from their purse. The sleeves of her dress look to be long and baggy on purpose to hide any stolen items. As her hand makes the grab for your purse, your hand snaps out and wraps around her wrist in a crushing grip. She immediately drops her drunken act, desperately tries to yank her hand free, and starts screaming at the top of her voice. Your free hand clasps her mouth shut.
Stop screaming, or I'll remove your lungs.
She stops cold and looks at you with large, frightened eyes.
Return what you stole from me. Now.
She nods. She peels back her long, baggy sleeves to reveal a small padded bag hanging from her wrist. It looks like she can palm coins and drop them into the bag. The padding muffles any clinking the coins would make. Without a word, she gives you the bag. It's filled with a few dozen copper commons.
We're even. Now, I never want to see you again. Understand?
The words echo in your mind from earlier this morning. She nods slowly. You lock your eyes with hers, and suddenly you force your grip to her throat, pinning her into the bricks of the alley. Her eyes widen as your hand constricts around her neck. She claws desperately at your fingers. You feel a shiver through your body as you look at her. You know you've killed this way before. You desperately try to cling to the memory, but it slips away, submerging into your unconscious. The feeling fades, and you realize what you were doing. You release your grip. Gasping, she jams her knee into your groin and forces you backwards into the alley wall. You feel a crunch as your head connects with brick. Your eyes dim, and she escapes. Something has changed within you. A hardness has formed. But twisting beneath it is a feeling of what you may have been and may yet still become. Slowly, your eyes begin to open. The pain hits you now, throbbing through your skull. Memories of what you did and may have done dominate your mind. Then behind you, from the shadows, you hear a snuffling, like a woodland beast digging in the dirt. In the darkness is a decrepit man playing in the filth. You approach. He snaps his gaze towards you. You hold still. Hunched over, snarling and giving low growls, you just make out his wild eyes veiled by a curtain of long matted hair. His face is soaked in sweat and grease that cakes in his stringy mustache. He stops, mid-snarl, and reaches up to part the curtain of hair that covers his eyes. Several puce-colored bugs fall and scatter across the cobbles as his withered hand pulls away. Behind the cloak of hair, the man's flesh is moon-pale and creased with wrinkles.
And may I take the moonfly too?
Take your hand and fly to the moon. Not today, my friend. The man frowns, but his eyebrows tilt upwards in a reverse V, a bizarre expression. You have no idea how he accomplished it, but it makes you feel uncomfortable watching the muscles beneath his face shift into the new pattern. You can't tell if he's angry, curious, both, or neither.
Sing it, kiss, speaker man. Answers prefer a wood woman heart.
A single kiss speaks a woman's heart, but a man's answer is what you would prefer. Well, very well. But know this, my answer is a question, and an answer from you is what I would prefer. The man seems mesmerized by your voice. With every word you speak, a light flickers in his eyes.
Barking wilder am I. I am wanting, asking. May you may.
You may, and I will. Who or what are you?
Chaos.
He stutters out the word, as if having difficulty getting his tongue around it.
Some say chaos attacks. I say certecte so wax. Chaos men. Men no. Men yes. 3 no's make a yes.
He hunches down on his knees and begins to rock back and forth, singing in a childlike soprano.
Chaos man, hop along home, a faction it is, yet we are alone.
Chaos men. Very well. Might I ask you some questions? He claps his hands with glee, like a child at a festival, then gives a howling shout.
Question!
Farad, do you know of him?
Fairod? No, not fair, not odd, lost not, help not.
He growls to himself as if to clear his throat.
Maybe you lose him first, then ask me. Then fair odds it will be.
To lose him, I'd have to find him first. Say, I'm looking for a lost journal. Do you know where I might find one? He frowns, squints his eyes shut, then opens them back up. When he speaks again, his voice is level and straightforward. It's like a different person is speaking.
More than one lost, more than one must you find. Each part of you had one, so more than one must you find.
Can you tell me where at least one of them is? He looks like he is about to object. Then suddenly his left fist comes up and smacks him in the temple. He howls in response and suddenly stops, blinking.
One is in a cupboard in your guest room in the Hall of the Sensates, and another is on the walls of a tomb sealed deep beneath the city where the stones weep. The others...
Before he can finish, his right fist comes up and smashes him in the face, causing him to yowl again. Hall of the Sensates? Where's that? Barking Wilder holds up his hands. He doesn't seem to recall what he just said. You said another was in a tomb beneath the city. Where? He looks frightened for a moment, then points upwards.
There?
He gulps. He doesn't seem to know. And for some reason, you believe him. Forget it then. I'll try and find them on my own. Take care,
barking wilder.
As you leave, you hear him howl and yelp. One moment a sound of joy and victory, the next a pained, forlorn cry. Bewildered and confused, you step back into the view of the square and see Morte japing with the two drunkards.
Now here's my enigmatic friend. Hey, Chief, come over, will you?
Both are extremely attractive and scarcely covered in straps of leather and silk. One calls out to you as you make your approach.
Oh, what strange tattoos! Some look a bit like the ones done at the Parlour in the Hive. The one run by Dabus, you know?
No, I've never been there.
Is that where you got yours done?
They giggle as Morte gestures to the snaking pattern creeping up the side of their exposed hip. Meanwhile, the other slaps a muscular arm over your shoulder as if you were the closest of friends and pulls you to their chest, reeking of booze and scented oils.
You met that addle-coved Monsod? What an arse. Seems hell's bent on finding folk to help care for the trees here. Mayhap he'd be better off spending time trying to help the people here instead, like anyone gives a pike and folly about the trees here. What sort of leatherhead brought him here in the first place is what I'd like to know.
Yeah. We'd best be on our way. Morte, let's go.
All right. Truly, a pleasure it has been.
He bobs in mock deference.
I haven't had this much fun since, well, the last time.
Just as you are out of earshot, Morte bobs closer to you.
Hey, Chief. I think I'm in lust. I'm in love.
Oh, yeah? Which one?
Hey, I knew you had some life in you, Chief. And to answer your question, why not both?
At the edge of the square, you see a tired-looking, sorrowful old man gazing at the ash-dead tree in front of him. He is mumbling to himself and tapping his chin as if trying to figure something out. He shakes his head sadly.
Greetings.
He seems momentarily startled as you interrupt his train of thought.
Oh, greetings to you too, friend. How's this day find you?
It finds me well. The lie lingers a little in your mouth.
That's good, friend. I hope your good fortune continues.
He seems about to turn back to the tree. And how's this day find you? He shrugs and proffers a bit of a smile.
Fortune finds me well, though I'm saddened just the same.
Why's that? He pats the tree beside him.
It's the trees here in the hive. They're dying, friend, and no one cares.
Seeing the look on your face, he holds his hands up as if to silence you for a moment.
It may not matter to some, but it's important to me. I feel it's a shame to see the last tatters of life and beauty in this ward left uncared for to die. Can you understand that, friend?
Yes, you're right. It is a sad thing. He seems surprised and blurts out.
Really? Oh, I mean, wonderful. Perhaps you would...
He pauses and seems suddenly suspicious. He recomposes himself, speaking in his usual slow manner.
In any case, that's good. I suppose you have some questions for me now.
No, not just yet. What was it you were going to ask? For the first time, the man seems genuinely happy. Beaming, he explains.
It's difficult for anything to survive here. Just look around you and you'll see what I mean, friend. I'm not sure it's possible for the trees to thrive here, even if they somehow were to get enough light and clean water.
Go on. He nods enthusiastically.
But if enough people care, really want them to live, I just know they'll survive. They'll turn green again and flourish.
What? That makes no sense. He smiles knowingly, shaking his head.
You're new here, I can see that now. You don't understand how things work in Sigil, friend. Belief is everything here. Everything.
You could be right.
I am right. I'm certain of it.
A sense of conviction surrounds him like an aura. He seems so unlike the man you first spoke to.
That's all I ask of you, friend. Just care for them. Hope for their recovery. In time, should enough people want it, it will come to pass. Can you do that for me, friend?
Yes, I'll help.
Excellent. Excellent, my friend. I thank you. You've given me back my confidence, my purpose. Perhaps I can find others like you who listen. Perhaps we'll make a difference.
Morte, what do you think?
Huh? Oh, yeah, Chief. Sure, whatever you say.
I'm serious, Morte.
Can you make the effort? Mort looks at you for a moment, silently, then nods.
Yeah, I can. If it's that important to you, I'll do it.
Why are all the trees dying?
Just look at your surroundings, friend. Can you imagine anything having an easy life here? And besides the wretched conditions, the Dabus rarely come to this part of Sigil.
Dabus?
You know, Dabus. Surely you've seen them. They're the lady servants. They care for the city. Some parts of it more than others, of course.
He looks sadly at the tree beside him. Why don't they come here often?
The hive's a dangerous place, but that's not it. The Dabus have the lady watching over them, and no one's foolish enough to tangle with her, friend. I suppose it's really all on account of Fell.
Who is Fell?
Fell? He's, well, friend, I'll just say he's the only Dabus that doesn't serve the lady. I don't know the whole dark of it, as they say, but he's shunned by his fellows and lives here, alone, in the hive. He runs a tattoo parlour, but most of Sigil is wary of the place. From the looks of you, I'm surprised you haven't crossed paths before.
What's there to be wary of?
Well, friend, since he turned from the lady, many people think it's just a matter of time before her shadow falls on him. No one wants to be about when and if that happens, I'm sure.
You don't have any idea of how he came to be shunned?
Like I said, friend, I'm not too sure. I've only heard vague rumours about him being on the wrong side of the issue when some power decided to butt heads with the lady. You could always try and ask him, friend. I'm told he's friendly enough, if not a little odd.
Some power?
A deity, friend? A god? Naturally, the lady has no problems with the likes of them. She keeps their lot out of Sigil entirely. His name was Eoskar, but I don't know much else about the affair.
His name was? The man nods, a grave look across his face.
As I understand it, the lady destroyed him. I wouldn't forget that if you were to ever consider messing about with her or her servants.
I see. Tell me about Fell's tattoo parlour.
Fell's parlour is only a few buildings past. It's marked with his personal symbol, a white oval pierced by a lightning bolt. I've never been there myself, friend, but as I understand it, he's able to turn images from his speech. You know the Dabus speak in images, yes? Rebuses.
They do?
They do. You'll see what I mean if you ever try talking to him. They float streams of symbols over their heads instead of speaking. It's up to a listener to puzzle out just what a Dabus is saying, but I hear it's something you get better at with practice.
All right, go on with what you were saying.
So, he's somehow able to turn images from his speech into tattoos. And not just ordinary inkings either. I'm told there's magic about them. And more than just in their making. I don't know much else about it, though.
Thank you, Morns. I wish you and the trees the best. Farewell. It's strange. The man's very nature has made you feel good. His intentions seemed purely for the betterment of the hive.
Well,
Your thoughts are interrupted as a woman grabs your attention. Her hair is scraped back into a tight, disc-shaped bun, giving her face a severe and dangerous look.
if it isn't my very own dark savior. Took your time coming around, you did. I was starting to think you wouldn't be coming at all, Blood.
She starts to rummage around in the pockets of her heavy, dark red dress.
Good and dead. Just like you said he'd be. And that's how I like him. Here's your blood money, Cutter. That ring I promised you. Fare you well.
Wait, one moment. I had some questions.
No, Cutter. It's been a good long time, it has, but I'd still best not be seen talking to you. He had friends, you know, and I think they've a feeling about what happened. We won't speak again.
What did you do?
Nothing. I mean, I have no idea. Let's move on.
The tattoo parlor is a domed building with an iron mesh covering its top. It looks more as if it had been grown than forged. A white oval symbol pierced by a lightning bolt hangs over the threshold. Inside is a vast display of artworks, some detailed and intricate, others bold and dominating. Black barbed branches, a clock with no hands, a burning skull flanked by symbols of duality. One in particular appeals to you, a shadow casting a shadow. The silhouette makes it unclear whether it is a man or a woman. Just beyond a thick curtain, you glimpse a hallway filled with even more designs. In the center of the parlor is a large reclining chair that seems to be where the patron sits. And behind the chair, regarding you curiously, is a tall creature in long flowing robes. Its skin has a greenish tone, and a pair of goat horns protrude from its forehead, framed by a shock of white hair.
Greetings.
A series of symbols materializes above the creature's head. The symbols have a slight glow about them, and they just hover there.
Oh, for power's sake, Pike and Dabbers.
What's wrong?
These annoying word puzzles. My bet they can speak. They would just rather piss everyone else off by trying to puzzle out what they're saying. They float around, breaking, fixing, and patching up Sigil according to the whims of the lady. They're worse than corpse flies. You can't swat them, though, or the lady will get upset.
Lady of Pain. What can you tell me about her?
You'll know when you see her. She's got these blades around her face. She's about the size of a giant, and she floats off the ground, just like these guys. Nobody knows much about her. She doesn't speak much. All you need to know is that you don't want to make her angry. If you see her, my advice, run.
Hold a moment. You said Dabbus float, right? This one's walking on the ground.
Mort glances at the Dabbus, and his eyes widen.
Aha! I knew you goat heads could walk. I knew it.
Mort turns gleefully back to you.
This one must not be aloof enough to get out the ground.
Maybe so.
The Dabbus waits patiently, its hands tucked into its sleeves. More symbols materialize above its head, then dissipate, and a question mark appears. You try and see if you can figure out what the Dabbus is saying. You ask the Dabbus several questions, trying to get a feel for the robusses that appear above its head. It is extremely patient throughout your discussion, giving you easy sentences to translate. After a few minutes, you start to get the hang of it. It feels like you've done this before.
You're Fel, correct?
As you ask the question, you get a sense that there's already a great familiarity between you and this Fel. As if in response, the Dabbus inclines his head and a lone symbol appears above. It is blurry at first, then resolves into a white oval with a black lightning bolt piercing through it.
I feel like I know you, Fel.
Fel bows reverently, and a stream of symbols swirl about his head, rotating clockwise, then counterclockwise. It takes you a moment to translate it to,
"This is the first time and not the first time you have come to this place. Do you know who I am?"
Another series of symbols materialize quickly and sharply into focus above Fel's head. The translation comes to you just as quickly and sharply as the symbols themselves, as if you have translated the exact same string many times before.
"Yes, but I am not permitted to tell your story."
"Why not?" For a moment, there is no response from Fel. Then a stream of robusses appears, as if trickling out of Fel's mind.
My apologies, I cannot change the nature of a man.
You can't explain why, but that last sentence sends a crawling sensation through your skull.
Nature of a man?
What does that mean? The symbols that appear above Fel almost mirror the previous stream.
My apologies. I cannot say. I see. What is this place?
A slow train of symbols materialize around his head. They take several moments to resolve, starting with simple lines, then fleshing themselves out into breathtaking colors.
This is where I tattoo color and life upon flesh and bone.
What lies beyond that curtain, Fel? A caravan train of symbols slowly materializes around Fel, one by one.
It is my gallery. Your discarded skins are my canvas. I admire you. I am saddened for you.
Saddened for me? Why? Another caravan of symbols forms around Fel, this time forming a circle.
The mark of torment lies upon your flesh. Tragedies and loss have built themselves upon it like stones upon a foundation. You have endured great pain.
What do you mean? A long string of rebusses appears above him. They surround his arms like manacles.
I admire you because you have never surrendered to the weight of these losses, despite the fact their chains hang on you still.
Go on. His symbols begin covering him like a cloak.
These losses blanket this life and all of your past ones. You shed lives like a molting serpent. You are exploring the infinite paths of life.
Tell me more. The symbols form, then fall suddenly to the floor, streaming out behind him like a shadow.
Take with you this warning. Each of your lives casts a shadow on existence. You must travel to a place where these shadows have gone mad, and regrets have scarred the earth.
Is there anything else you can tell me? A brief series of paper-thin rebusses appear in an orderly row next to Fel, then vanish into glowing motes.
Do not sign anything.
Very well. His symbols begin to form a spiral. They have the texture of a question about them.
Do you feel complete?
I don't. In fact, ever since waking up in the mortuary, I feel like something's missing. Something inside. Fel nods, and a series of symbols materializes in a halo around him.
You are strong. Keep faith, and you shall become whole again.
I'll try. You say you've met me before, Fel. Do you know how I died? Fel does not respond for a moment. Then slowly, menacingly, 3 symbols materialize above his head, each of them casting a long shadow.
Shadows.
Shadows. The 3 symbols swirl about each other, each leaving a faint black misty trail about them. They take on a ragged edge like teeth and talons, and multiply. Where there were 3, there is 9. 9 becomes 27, 27 to 81, until the room is a swarm of shadows.
Many shadows. They streamed from the darkness, swarmed you, then left you to die.
Why? The shadowed symbols swirl into one, then dissolve, to be replaced with a single simple symbol.
I do not know.
I see. Can you tell me anything about these tattoos on my body? Fel studies your body for a moment, walking around you. He mirrors each symbol as he examines it, and returns to face you.
I know them. None are by my hand.
Can you tell me about some of them? Fel nods, symbols appearing around him like fireflies.
The ones upon your back were scribed with a careful hand, and are directions for a mind that forgets itself. The symbol that lies upon your left shoulder is the mark of torment.
Torment? The symbol sharpens, gaining edges that are almost painful to your eyes.
It is torment. It is that which draws all tormented souls to you.
Fel nods at your shoulder.
The flesh knows it suffers, even when the mind has forgotten. And so, you wear the rune always.
I'll keep that in mind. Can I see more of what designs you have? He guides you past the curtain to the rest of his artworks. A night black steed with white eyes and spines bristling from its shoulder blades. A dark sphere with trails of mist flowing from it. Great rivers whose courses divide, cross each other, then flow together again. A hollow beast with a tiny demon squatting in its head. Deeper into the parlor, he shows you your past discarded skins stretched taut over huge wooden frames, every inch covered in tattoos. They're full of pain and beauty. His work is magical. Outside, across from the parlor, stands a group of elaborately dressed street workers, their vibrant attire attracting the attention of all passers-by. One in particular, a young woman, wears a sharp-fitted jacket with a billowing patterned skirt of rippling shades of blue. Her skin is pale, and her hair a jet black.
A belt fashioned like fresh razor vine coils about her waist. She seems to broadly match the description that Nod, the collector, gave of his sister. She smiles as she sees you approach.
Seeking some company, love?
Her eyes are incredibly striking, accentuated by an artful flare of smoky teal.
Are you, by any chance, Amaris?
She stares at you, silently for a time, then speaks.
I was called that. Once. Long ago. Who are you?
I was sent to find you by Nod, your brother. He's worried about you, and hoped I could tell him how you were.
Nod? He's alive? Where? Why didn't he come to seek me out himself?
I think he's ashamed. He's a collector now, living in poverty in Ragpicker's Square. He doesn't seem quite right. I'm struggling with his thoughts, I mean.
He was a bit touched, even as a child, when his name was Thodas. Oh, I've missed him so. Ashamed, though. Huh. My own work's no more proud. Well, at least I'm doing well for myself. For a haver, at any rate, eh? I must visit him soon.
She looks at you closely for the first time since you've spoken.
Are you a friend of Nod's, or...?
Of a sort. Yes. Why?
Could you...
She frowns, biting her lip as if considering something.
Could you give this to him? I have ways of knowing, so you's better swear to it.
She steps close to you and reveals a pouch of what looks to be about 100 copper commons.
Yes, I swear. I'll get it to him.
She hands you the pouch.
All right. Thank you. Go speak to Nod for me, and tell him how I worry about him so.
I will. Farewell.
Completely clad in lead panels and grates, with cruel spikes jutting from the roof, the building that dominates this square gives an impression of some giant metallic reptile, belching out dirty steam as it lies in slumber. A thick curtain of razor vine crawls up its sides, withering from the heat. Scratched above the entry are the words "Smoldering Corpse Bar." By the entrance, 3 men dressed in black and red, matching the description of Porphyron's assailants, jeer at hivers as they enter the bar. Their attire is comprised of dyed squares of cloth roughly sewn into a patchwork suit, giving them a semblance of unity and presumably signifying an allegiance to each other.
Hey, Chief, those who we're looking for?
They notice you staring, and the largest of the 3, a broad-chested man, juts out his chin and beckons you over. He looks like he is made almost purely of muscle.
Oh, and how can I help you then, Governor?
The man's face breaks into a sneer.
Looks to me like you needs a healer.
Nice outfit. Someone pay to have you dress all the same, or is it just a coincidence?
Oh, this one's got some spark in him, boys.
He slaps a lazy palm onto your shoulder and speaks softly into your ear.
Oh, listen. I'd be watching where you be letting your jokes fly, Governor. You let another one slip your tongue and I'll give you a second smile jig.
The goons behind him start laughing as if on cue. As he revels in his display of wit, in one deft motion you force him round and press the edge of your knife against his throat.
I'd wipe that sneer off your face, or you'll be the one needing a healer, Governor. Now, you listen. You the ones who robbed the monk here in the hive, took his prayer beads.
Yes, some soul with lines scrawled over his face. Claimed he could put us all in the dead book. Yet lets us bob him blind.
The man gives a panicked, toothless grin.
Yeah, never heard of such a sod, I haven't.
You dig the edge of your blade in, ever so slightly.
All right, I get it. But if you cut me, the lads here will jump you.
You look to the 2 of them. One nervously scratches his head, and the other gives you a nonchalant shrug.
Oh, for fuck. Whatever.
Feeling just a little sorry for him, you give him a sharp push into the gravel beneath you.
Ow, that's sodding hurt.
All right. Perhaps we can come to an agreement. The necklace is of no value to anyone not of his order. However, Perhaps I could buy it from you. The man frowns and rubs his neck where the blade had left a small scratch.
No, I'm attached to it, I am. Can't let it go, except for a hefty bit of coin. Say 15 copper?
How about 10?
Yeah, well, alright. It's an ugly thing anyways.
He untwists a string of red and black beads from his wrist and tosses them to you in exchange for the few coppers.
Here you go.
A faint web of dark lines swirls around them in an indecipherable pattern.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks. Who are yous, anyway?
I really don't have time to get into that. Farewell. And with that, you leave the three goons to contemplate their life choices and make for the entrance to the bar. As you go to push through the doorway, a hefty dwarven man covered in chainmail and animal hides stumbles out, barreling straight into your chest. Armed as he is, he weighs a ton.
Why is the street all blurry?
This man is drunk out of his gourd. He can barely stand, much less speak to you. He reeks of liquor, vomit, and stale urine.
Oh, the ground's getting all shaky.
You don't look okay.
No, getting dizzy.
The drunk seems only dimly aware of you speaking to him. He looks about, confused, trying to discover the source of your voice. You hold his shoulders to steady him. He suddenly begins to retch copiously. You hop back to avoid being spattered. After a few moments, he straightens up, wipes his beard, and slaps a silver piece directly into your palm.
Get yourself a drink. On me, Cutter.
Thanks, I guess. He meanders, staggering down the street. If it weren't for the exceptionally large axe strapped to his back, you'd be concerned he wouldn't outlive the day. Immediately, as you open the doors, you are hit by the heat. A smell of burning hair and tobacco smoke fills your nostrils. Inside, an orange glow dimly illuminates sooty brass pipes lining every wall, and large vents blast in hot air from the furnaces below. All of this, however, is secondary to the burning figure that dominates your focus. Floating in the very center of the bar, a crackling, billowing creature twists slowly above an iron grill. It may have once been human, but now its skin is charred beyond recognition. Streams of fire form a wreath around the creature's body, and the flames lick at the few remaining pockets of flesh, causing them to bubble and run like wax down the creature's skeletal frame. The heat surrounding this creature is incredible. To your surprise, the iron grill the creature floats above has sagged and bent from the heat. At first, you thought the heat came from the grill, but now you realize it emanates from the creature itself. As you watch, flecks of ash drift from the writhing corpse and float slowly to the ceiling. What are you? The thing makes no response. It writhes slowly within the flames. It lives, but it does not seem aware of anything other than the fire that surrounds it. Its skin is flame. Its heart is flame. And you know, within some shadowed corner of your memory, that this thing is dangerous. As you stand contemplating the creature, a scruffy, ill-kempt man sidles up next to you, bringing the strong smell of alcohol. He leans in close and looks you up and down.
Looks like you could use a healer.
He barks out laughter, and the nauseating stench of liquor and poorly chewed food washes over you.
Yeah, I get that a lot. Who is this burning man?
That's Ignis. He's some crazy old coot mage who got the bright idea to burn down the hive. You see the Alley of Dangerous Angles? He done that. Group of wizards got together, did some magics on him, and now he's a tavern theme singer. Mascot. Yeah. But my cousin was one of the wizards. No great shakes as a mage, but he's sure got this perk.
What can you tell me about this place?
This place, smouldering corpse. Best place in town for a drink. At least as long as you don't mind drinking near a fiend or two. No, if you don't mind the Red Death poking their heads in on occasion. Lots of people here. Lots of interesting things. Lots.
I assume you're one of the attractions then. Who are you anyway?
Me?
I'm Andor.
He weaves on his feet.
You used to be a hell of a fighter, man, too. But that is before the bug took hold of me. Friends call me Slappy because I was so good at doing it to people, but now they call me Slappy because so many people do it to me when I talk to them.
That's great. Well, thanks, Slappy. Farewell. Looking around, you see all manner of beings hunched at their tables, smoking, drinking, laughing. You lose count of the different languages and dialects you pick up on. The bar itself has seen a lot of use. The scoring of talons, knives, teeth from innumerable tavern brawls do nothing to mask the grimy build-up of years' worth of drink that encrusts the surface. Like the air around it, it is warm to the touch. Behind it is a short, squat, leather-skinned man with a greenish tinge to his face. His ears are large, his teeth sharp, and his eyes are filled with a boredom that comes from having seen far too much.
Oh, you again, eh? What do you want this time?
You again? What do you mean?
Yeah, you again. You got a hearing problem or something now? You was in here about 15 years ago. Got all bumped up, smashed up the place, and left a pile of coin that wasn't enough to pay for the damages. So you plucked out your own bleeding eyeball and tells me you'll be back to reclaim it when you got 200 coins together. Well, with 15 years of interest, you got about 500 coins. You got the jink, pal. I got your eye.
500? That's ridiculous. He pauses for a moment, considering.
Yeah, that is. All right, tell you what. Give me 300 and the eye's yours.
Hey, don't look at me. What you do with your body is your business.
250.
Yeah, it's a deal.
He produces a dark, wax-stoppered pot from underneath the bar. You hear the sound of liquid sloshing around inside it, along with a heavier, squishier noise. Opening it, the stench of some sort of preservative agent nearly makes you gag. Floating in the viscid muck is an eyeball.
All right, you better figure out what you want to do with that. Now you've exposed it to the air, you might as well put a pickled egg in the jar for all the good it'll do you. Make up your mind, Cutter, pickled egg or not.
With a moment of hesitation, you reach up to your face and pop your eye out of the socket into the palm of your hand. The bartender helpfully severs the optic nerve and directs your hand to the jar of goo that sits on the bar. You deposit your eye in the preservative, wrap your fingers around the old one, and slide it into your empty socket. The pain of this entire operation is incredible. After a moment, though, you can feel the optic nerve reattaching itself to this new eye. And suddenly, you are hit by a flash of memory. A vast expanse of chaotic, ever-changing wasteland stretching before you. A group of humanoid vultures plummeting toward you, cruel weapons ready to strike, and your own shining blade clutched tight in your fist. 3 toughs surround you in the colors of an enemy you can't quite place. Long daggers glisten in their hands, and the light glints cruelly from their exposed teeth. You glance at your scarred hands and know that soon they'll be covered in blood. An enormous frog-like creature comes bounding over, through, under chaos stuff, headed for you with a mouth full of teeth. You hurl your javelin through the shifting matter and pin the creature to a sudden stone plinth. You recall these experiences on the battlefield, surfacing a confidence in your body's reflexes and your skill as a warrior.
Well, what do you know? That was a new one for me.
Who are you?
Me? I'm Barkis, owner and keeper of this place.
What is this place?
Didn't you see the sign out front? Didn't you see the Burt burning over the furnace when you came in? It's the smouldering corpse cutter. Best damn bab house in Sigil. At least it's the best damn bab house in this part of the hive, which makes it one of the best in Sigil. Now, they got fancy places with plants and such in the ladies' ward, and they got fiendish taverns salted all around the rest of the hive, but none of them got the character of the smouldering corpse.
Who is this corpse, anyway?
Him? Ignis. He used to be a flame wizard, burned down pieces of the hive and got himself scragged by a bunch of other mages. You want to know more about him, go talk to Drusilla. She's usually around here somewhere.
All right. What can you tell me of the other patrons here?
I don't make it a point to interfere with the lives of the people who give me their hard-earned jink unless they ask me to, so Well, over there is Kendrian, Planewalker. He's a good one to talk to about any planewalking questions you might have. He's been pretty much everywhere. Down there is also Eb Creekney. He's an old harmonium basher. Don't hold that against him. And a tout. He's got a good heart in him, and he knows Sigil up and down. Them fiends over there are Ethelgrin and Tegarin. Word of advice, don't deal with them. They might be low rankers in the fiend hierarchy, but they're still fiends. Then you got Ilquix over there, not trustworthy, and some mercy killers looking for some poor sods. Dakon, the kid's alright. He's a mystery to me, don't know much about him. He don't talk much. Finally, actually, you interested in earning some free bub?
Sure.
Yeah, there's a bubba over against the far wall hanging about in the shadows who's been trying to work up the courage to slip out without covering her tab. I want you to make sure she don't do that. You do it and there's some bub in it for you.
All right. I'll be right back. You walk over and see someone dressed as a dustman with a half-empty glass in her hand. She calls out to you.
Hey, Cutter! Buy a lady a drink?
There's something odd about her, and your exposure to the dustman leads you to believe that she's just too lively to be a real member of the faction. Very well. Here's a couple of coins.
Oh, my thanks, Cutter. May you find the true death.
She glances at the bar. Well now, hold on. Give me some answers for my jink.
What do you want to know?
Who are you?
Me? I'm Macha. I just like to, drink here and,
She seems to lose her train of thought momentarily.
I'm just a person, you know?
I see. What is this place?
Smoldering Corpse Tavern. Can't you read? You, more bub than I am?
Well, tell me about the other patrons here.
I don't know. They're just, people. I don't deal with much with people unless they're buying me a drink.
I see. You're not really a dustman, are you? Her eyes dart about in panic.
Why do you say that?
Because you don't act like a dusty, and you're not offering contracts. In fact, you're taking money instead of giving it out for that corpse labor they do at the mortuary. She stifles a squeak of terror and hastens to explain.
I'm not a dustman. I just found these robes in the street, and I didn't have enough money to get good clothes, and, I heard there was a dustman thief around, but you could probably find him near Pass Row. He works the market there. I saw him, but I hid from him. Please don't hurt me.
I'm not planning on it. You ought to know that you're not pulling it off too well. Now, Barkis says it's time for you to settle your tab. Come on, pay up. She jumps a little, and a nervous tension becomes full-fledged anxiety.
What are you going to do?
Ask you to go pay up. Now.
I can't afford it. Can you spot me just 10%? I'll give it to him, and he knows I'll pay the rest.
How much do you need?
I think I need about 100 coins to get started on that debt.
100 to get started?
But either that or you could just end it all now. I wouldn't mind.
What? No. A strange look passes over her face. You look to your coin pouch and realize you don't have nearly enough, aside from what Amaris entrusted you to give to Nod. I'll lend you the money. Here. Take it and pay up. Now. You hand her Amaris's pouch. She pockets it and glances briefly toward the door as if she's weighing her chances of dashing out.
My thanks, I suppose.
Don't mention it. And don't even think about heading for the door until you've paid up.
I'm going. You don't have to pester me.
Oh, don't you worry about that. I'm coming with you. Get moving. You guide her back to Barkis, and she drops the coin pouch onto the bar.
Here's, some money. I'll bring in more, later.
You'd better, or I'll send him after you again. She sighs and slopes back to her shadowed corner.
You, friend, have full bar privileges. For free. Anything you want for a time.
That must have been a pretty big tab she ran up.
You don't know the half of it. You want a drink now?
Set me up.
You want a drink, you got a drink. This is what we got for you. Beer, bitters, mead. What will it be?
Beer. You quaff the weak drink. The flavor isn't exactly bold, but it's filling and it's alcoholic, though it doesn't seem to do anything else for you. Bacchus looks to the empty mug.
You want anything else?
I certainly do.
And what will it be?
Information. He gives an exaggerated sigh.
Oh, well, hurry up, will you? I do have some paying customers.
You know anything about Farad, the collector? He turns and spits on the floor.
Farad? You might as well just turn your back and let him sink a dagger in it. Like from the looks of you already have. If you're dead set on finding Farad, pardon the pun, talk to Ebb Creekneys over there. He should know something about you.
Ebb, the old man? My thanks. Thank you for listening to Planescape Torment, the unofficial audio series, a RevocerGM production. To support the show and those involved, please consider subscribing to our Patreon or donating via our Ko-fi page. Links to both are in the description.